that.
Alright.
Alright, hey guys, well, it's Simeon here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. We're in beautiful Fort McDowell, Arizona at the casino and hotel here for the 2017, well, it's been the International UFO Congress for quite a while. It used to be in Laughlin, and now with the newer conference, it's being held here in Arizona. We heard a lot of interesting, real presentations today. We heard a presentation about Rendlesham Farms. It was really quite detailed. It was by retired Colonel Charles Halt. You might have heard of him before, and he gave his sort of, everyone has their own impressions of these cases. They're just versions of it, and we heard his version of it, which was really quite interesting, quite detailed, what happened over the 3 nights. Really fascinating stuff. I mean, such an unexplained case with so much evidence, so many witnesses. And what was fun about Halt's presentation is that he had talked to a lot of the radar operators, and there were a lot of guard towers around that area, given that there were a lot of weapons stored there. And he talked to these guards. They had people seen these things go across on radar. One guy said it went across at 4,000 miles an hour. Of course, when these guys were out in the woods and what they saw, it wasn't moving at 4,000 miles an hour, but it was just more confirmation that something really happened there. Something landed, Henderson Burroughs, so forth. So very interesting presentation. Then we just heard James Fox giving I thought, a really great presentation about so-called Phoenix light sightings. As we heard yesterday, these actually started in Las Vegas and worked their way all the way down through Arizona in March 13th, 1997. And what made it really special was we had 2 witnesses, a woman and her daughter, who were driving on I-10 that night and saw what they described as a 2 to 3 mile wide craft, gunmetal black, right over the highway. They said one of the lights on these objects would have filled the space of the entire highway. That's how big it was. We heard new interviews with former Governor Fife Symington, who was talking in an interview we hadn't heard before, I hadn't heard it, saying he really thought this was an alien craft. I mean, he had been in the Air Force National Guard, and that he made phone calls, and this object, he said, did not come from this earth. That's basically what he said, to paraphrase him. It was just too big, even though he made fun of it that night. It was something really special. So it was really great hearing it from these witnesses. I mean, it's one thing to see this on video and talk about it. Another thing, to see people talking on video, but when they're right in front of you, said, look, we know what we saw. It was a huge triangular craft over our car. And then the daughter said something we hadn't heard before, that it moved away very quickly, just enough to turn your head, and it was gone, just like that. It's very interesting stuff. So these conferences are always interesting. I encourage you to go to any, local UFO conferences in your area, just because it's going to surprise you. You're going to learn new things. The phenomena is not easy to understand for our human brain, our minds, but it's a fascinating subject. And I came across a new witness recently, a flight security specialist and a missile security guard from Minot in 1972. I'm going to be sharing that with you shortly as soon as I'm done with the video. Very interesting case, another close-up case, close encounter with something that was quite large, very bright, and doesn't seem to be from anything that we really understand. So I'll be sharing that with you soon, so stay tuned for that. So again, thanks for visiting my YouTube channel, and we'll take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.